Hi, I'm Keith Johnson, owner of VisualWorks and co-creator of the CampWorks reservation software. In this video, I will give you a brief demonstration of some of CampWorks' many features. I hope that you will find it interesting and that you will find CampWorks a good fit for your business. First, let me introduce you to the main CampWorks screen. We've designed CampWorks to be very easy to use, and that's usually the feedback that we get from customers. First thing that you'll see is a very intuitive, easy to follow interface where we have, if you want to find a new reservation or enter a new reservation, well, basically you're going to select from one of these options. If you're looking up a reservation, the grid and the map are very powerful features that many of our customers really enjoy, especially the grid. And then of course it's just again very intuitive and straightforward depending on what you need to do. We have extensive reporting features. We have a point of sale module, going in and doing some maintenance as far as compressing or backing up your databases, restoring databases, etc., exporting to QuickBooks. And then also set up. One of the first things we'd recommend you do is you go through the extensive help features. Essentially, the Getting Started manual will take you through step by step on how to set up CampWorks. We have training videos similar to this one. This is more of a demo video, but we have comprehensive training videos that will take you through in much more detail on how to do various features, which is great for training new staff or for you just learning how to use CampWorks in the first place. If you ever get into trouble and we need you to send your database, if there's a problem, just have one click and your database is uploaded securely to our server where we can download it and then we can duplicate your problem. So getting help is easy. We can also have you click on Show My PC and we can connect directly to you to see your screen and see the problem that you're experiencing and get you fixed quickly. So those are some of the basic menu system. Also, we have a practice mode, and in practice mode you can go in and make reservations without having to worry about messing up your main database. So this is a completely separate database. Notice we flash the screen so that you don't get mixed up as to which database you're in, but this is a great place for training, experimenting, figuring out how to do things without messing up your main data. And then the last area of the main screen I want to point out is quick lists. Quick lists are a great way to keep certain high access lists in front of you. So you're getting towards the end of the day or it's a popular check-in time, you probably want the guests left to check in list in front of you. Very easy then to just quickly access a reservation. Double clicking it, pulling up, so as soon as they walk in, tell you their name, you can pull up the reservation. There are a number of different lists, left to check in, left to check out. Reservations needing attention is a popular one, so you can set a flag on a reservation, a check mark saying, hey, this one requires some attention, and then put something in the notes so that I know I should check that regularly. I'll look at that list. Maybe you teach your employees that, hey, every day need to be looking at the needs attention list so that if there's a reservation that we need to do something with, that we take action on it. So let's get started with making a new reservation. There are multiple ways within CampWorks to make new reservations. The most obvious is going to the New Reservation button, and you can either do a new guest or a returning guest or create a group. So let's start with making a new guest reservation. And first thing you'll see is the ability, if you want to, it's optional, to track how the guest found out about your business. You can edit this list in setup. Let's just pick that it was a road sign and save, and then that will be reported later. If you do a report on your advertising effectiveness, you'll see where people are finding out about you. But let's go forward with making the reservation. First of all, you'll have different options depending on your setup on what types of rental spaces that you offer. So let's just leave this as a campsite. Let's just leave the dates as is, but there are calendars if you want to select the specific dates. You can look for a specific rental space if you want. In this case, let's just do a general search. I'm going to leave it as all hookups, but I could select different hookups and all access types, and then if you want to, you can put in the rig information to try to narrow it down to make sure that this type of rig fits on this specific rental space and that type is acceptable. So maybe you don't want to put a motorhome on that's a tent only site, for example. But let's just leave it general right now and find all available rental spaces. First thing you'll notice, all of the available rental spaces that meet the criteria selected up here are listed. You can now select whichever rental space that you want. One feature that we have is what we call an optimization feature. This is if your campground is getting very full or your rental spaces are becoming heavily utilized. You may have specific gaps in reservations that you want to try to fill. In other words, you might have someone checking out on the 10th, someone else checking in on the 15th, and so there's a gap of 5 days. And if it fit perfectly, if this reservation were between the 10th and the 15th, and there was someone else booked before and after, it would show up as green on this grid, meaning that this is a perfect fit for that spot. So then you keep that rental space specifically completely full. The others just mean there's a reservation after it or before it. So it tells you whether, and maybe you can use it just the opposite way. If you are relatively open and you want to make sure someone doesn't have to switch sites, you may not want to put them so that there's somebody right after them in case they want to extend, and then you wouldn't want them to switch sites. So enough on that. Let's just make a reservation. So I'm just going to pick site 9, create the reservation. So it's just warning me I didn't select any rig type, so it can't do a check on that. Let's put in a name. I'm just going to put some stuff in here to fill this out. It has a zip code lookup, and oops, and just going to put some numbers in now to get through this. Save and continue. And we now are on the reservation screen. We just need to fill out the number of adults, and if there's any children, I'll just do that and hit save. Again, warning me I don't have any rig information. I need to put in my user code because I haven't logged on yet. Alright, so I'm logged in. The reservation's been created. So that's the easiest way to create a reservation. We've now just created our first reservation. Another way to make a new reservation within CampWorks is to select a returning guest reservation. So this is for someone that's already stayed at your campground, which I am in the system. Let's find me. So notice I just type J and then I get a list of all of the J's. If I type JOHN for Johnson and hit search, now I'm getting only the Johnsons. So I'm going to find one of mine, hit continue. I have different unit types under my profile. I'm going to select this one, and now I can again search, pick a site, create a reservation, number of adults. I'm going to put 2 children on this one, hit save, and now I've created the reservation. So you can see it's quite fast once your name is already in the system, or the guest name is in the system, and you can very quickly make reservations. Another way we can make a reservation is directly from the reservation grid. On the reservation grid, to make a new reservation, all I have to do is on the site I want and on the date I want, left click and drag to the right and then release the button. And now I've drawn a bar on the reservation grid. I can then select, is this a new guest, an existing guest, or just block out maintenance like I did up here. Let's say this is an existing guest. I'll again search the J's. This time I'll just pick this person, continue, and now I can finish off making the reservation. So again, very easy to make the reservation using the reservation grid. Now you can see this person is on the grid. The reservation grid has many powerful features. I already showed you how to make a reservation on the grid. I can also just access a reservation by double clicking and pulling it up. So now I can look at the information about this one. This one is red on the grid because they requested this rental space number. So this one will be blocked from moving because they requested this. It forces you to uncheck this before you can move this reservation. But if I do want to move one, let's say this guy, so this one is a good example. He wants to stay closer to the pool if possible. And so let's move it manually on the grid. Let's say site 25 is available and it is closer to the pool, so I'm just going to grab it and I can drag it up to site 25, and now I just need to hit save, and I have successfully moved him to that site. And so now let's say that cleared this issue, so I am going to uncheck yellow, or uncheck the attention required, and done. Update the comments, hit save. I exit out, and now we can see the yellow has disappeared, and then he will also be taken off of my attention required list. Another popular and good feature is extending stays. If I want to extend the stay, notice how the icon of the cursor changes when I'm on the end of the bar. I can just grab this guy and extend him 2 days, and now it brings up his reservation. I need to hit save, and he is updated, and that reservation has now been extended a couple days. So those are a couple of the key powerful features of the grid. There are other things you can do. You can change the display to be a different color scheme. You can determine what shows up by reservation numbers or names, etc. You can change the view of the display on how long the bars are, how much history to show, etc. So, and then searching and finding different reservations or rental space numbers into visibility on the screen. So hopefully you'll find the grid a very powerful feature, as many of our customers do. The grid becomes their main source of making, finding, using reservations. To create a new group reservation, go to the New Reservation menu, select Group, give the group a name, select whether they are, how the billing will be done. Is it charging it to each individual reservation, or is the one person, the group contact, paying for the entire reservation? And then is the group contact, the first reservation that you're making, going to be a new guest profile, or are they already in the system? I'm going to select they're in the system. I will select my name and just narrow down the results by putting K in, so I only get the Ks. And I will just select this profile for right now to test this out. And I'm just going to select the sites. You can select individual sites by clicking on them and holding the control key down, or you can also press the shift key and select continuous groups of sites. So let's say I want those, plus I'm going to select this one by holding the control key down while I'm clicking with the mouse. I now have a number of different sites selected. I hit create reservation. It says there's no rig types. That's okay in this case. And now it's asking where I want to assign the group contact, what rental space. Let's say we're putting myself on site 26. I hit OK. Put in number of adults, say there's going to be 2 of us on that site, hit save. No rig information warning, that's okay. And now went through and it saved every one of those reservations and created a group. I can view that group by clicking on view group. Now I see I have the guest contact in site 26, and each of these others are now unassigned because we have not put people's names in them. We can look up this group later and then assign names as people come in, or you could access each of these individually from this list and go reassign or put new guest profiles on. So let's say I want to select this one, so notice it's unassigned. I want to change the guest and put a, I'm just going to put an existing guest in there for ease right now. And I will grab Gavin Johnson, and so now he is assigned to that reservation. So you can do that for each of the guests, and that's the basics of creating a new guest reservation. One cool feature of CampWorks is having blacklists, just so that if you have certain guests that you've really had bad experiences with and you want to make sure they do not accidentally get into your system, you can blacklist them. And if you try to make a reservation for a blacklisted guest, let's say old Abe Lincoln was not good to you and you want to make a reservation, first of all he turned red, which denotes he's on the blacklist. He's a blacklisted guest. If I hit continue, I get a warning saying he's on the blacklist. Are you sure you want to create the reservation? So just wanted to show you that feature. I think it's something that can be beneficial for your business. To create a monthly reservation, go to New Reservation, select whether it's a new or returning guest. I'll assume returning guest again this time. I'm going to use my own profile as I typically have been doing. And I'll select this one, continue, select motorhome, and I'm going to make this reservation for 2 months. So checking in on today and out on February 12th. Let's find available sites. We'll pick site 61, create the reservation, hit save. And what you'll note is CampWorks has only charged for the first month. So it's because of the way I have it set up is to charge monthly, and so it will only do the charge 1 month at a time. So it has charged for the first month $450. There are taxes on that, so the total comes to $495. It's important that you check your monthly guests in, as this starts the end of the check-in process, starts the roll forward for any monthly charges that will be on the monthly bill, monthly statement at the end of the month. So we will, first of all, let's pay. So let's assume they are paying. We'll just put cash. Okay. Now they've paid. We'll do the check-in process. I go back to this screen. Click check-in. I am going to just ignore the receipt for right now. So the guest is now checked in. Now that the monthly guest is checked in, this is also the time that you'd go into monthly billing and put in their initial meter reading if you are charging and keeping track of meters. So we click on New. It will put in the default from the previous guest that stayed on this particular reservation, or I'm sorry, on this particular site. You may need to verify that and make sure that that is the correct meter reading. We highly would recommend that, so you can override this number. But for the sake of this, I am going to just save it. Now their meter reading is stored as an initial reading, and at the end of the month we'll get a new reading, put it in, and it will calculate the total electric meter charges that are due. This guest has now been at your business for 1 month. Today is their 1 month anniversary, and so it's time to charge them rent for the next month's visit. So we do that by creating a monthly statement. But throughout their stay, they may have added charges this first month, and so you can see on 12/8 they added a t-shirt and an ice, so that they now have a current balance. When we create, and they have not paid for that yet, when we go then to monthly billing, the first step would be, if you are charging electric meter readings, to add the meter reading now for the first month. Let's do new, and this is a new reading. And let's put in let's say that it is 6,025. I hit save, and it calculates that their total electric meter reading is 3887. You can adjust how this calculates by in the setup on what your rates are, and if you have a base charge that's a fixed charge each month. You can also do similar with phone charges. So now we've added the electric meter readings, and let's create our first statement. So we've just clicked on create statement and now have created our first statement for this guest. You can see now that rent has been charged for the next month from today's date through the end of their stay, 1 month from now, and taxes have been added, and the electric meter readings are broken out, so you can see what the electric charge is due, and also any miscellaneous additional charges that were paid or that were charged throughout the month are shown. If there were payments made in the month, it would show how many payments have been received, and they had a zero balance when they started. If there's a balance carryover, that would be on here as well. This shows then their total current charges, total due, and this is a statement then that you can print and provide to your guest. The reservation map is another very powerful feature of CampWorks. So with reservation maps, the best way to get started is go through again in detail in our Getting Started manual. That will explain how to set up this map. Basically, if you have a printed map or an electronic version is what you need. So if you have a printed map and that's all you have, you will have to get it scanned to make an electronic version, but you can set this up completely yourself with the instructions in the Getting Started manual. Essentially, you load that electronic file into a paint program like Windows Paint, and you draw on all of these circles so that you can have a spot for them to be colored in depending on the type of reservations that are on those sites. So anything that's colored in on this map is shows that there's a reservation on that site. By changing the dates, I will get different colors filled in. Like for example, if I go back 9th through the 10th, I didn't have any reservations, so everything is filled in. If I go back to today, 12th through the 14th, let's say this guest wants to stay, then these are the rental spaces that are available for that day. If I want to look at a particular reservation, or I can see what reservations are on that rental space, so this is my list. I only have one on that. I can access that reservation directly by double-clicking the one on the list. And now if I want to create a reservation, first of all let me show you the hotspots. When you're in edit mode, you will see where the clickable areas are, and these are what you will have defined in setup. So these are the clickable areas. I want to make a reservation, let's say on site 15, so I double click it and it will tell me now I'm into the same mode like I was on the reservation grid, if it's a new guest, existing guest, etc. So let's select existing guest, select J, and I'll do Samuel Jackson, hit continue. It wants me to just verify the guest's information, save and continue. Now I'm into the reservation screen and save, and I've now then created this reservation. Okay, let's now try to find a reservation. I've showed you several ways that you can find reservations already, using quick lists, using the reservation grid, using the reservation map. But another very powerful feature is to use this query screen. And if I go into the Find Reservation screen, I have a number of different filters I can use to try to find specific guests. So I'll just leave it to the basic, which is everything in the future. In other words, it's going to ignore guests that have already checked out. So this will be everybody that's currently checked in and going forward. And then you can look for specific dates. You can use any of these to narrow your search results. So for example, if I just type J, I hit Find Reservation, it'll give me everything with the last name starting with J. If I go to Johnson, it will give me only the Johnsons, so now it's down to 41. If I add K, it will narrow it down to 31 reservations, and so forth. So you can see how this works. If I go G, let's see if we have any G's in here. Okay, so I have 6 reservations that are under Gavin Johnson. So you get the idea. You can narrow this list down, and then of course you can open any of these reservations by clicking on it. And you can use any of these different features to drill down and specifically find the reservation that you're interested in. Let's explore the reservation screen a little bit more and all of the features in it. And to do that, let's go through the process of checking in a guest. So first of all, I have the guest list pulled up that shows all of the guests left to check in. I am going to again select one of these. Let's just walk through the layout of the reservation screen first. So basic information is on top. You can edit my guest profile by clicking on the guest profile. You can change the guest profile associated with this reservation to a different guest by selecting this button. You can move them to this reservation to a different rental space by selecting here. If it's a group, which in this case it's not, there's no group name and it's just one of one. So, but if it's a group, you'd be able to access the group reservation information. So now the basics about the reservation screen. We have the general reservation information with dates, the charge types that are being used, the occupancies. There's different charge rate systems that can be used, and that's all explained in setup. Vehicle and rig information, and then any of the special options. The second tab has all of the charges and discounts. So this is the rates that are being used, the taxes that are applied, and then if you want to add any additional charges or discounts, that is done through these fields. So let's say I want to just add some ice. I can add ice to the account. The charge date is today. I need to enter my code. I'm not logged in at the moment, so I logged in, and so now I've added an ice charge onto this reservation. Same thing with discounts. You can add a discount, whether it's a pre-programmed discount you've already entered in setup, or you can put a specific discount in, a miscellaneous discount. So that covers this screen, payments and credits. So now let's say everything is entered in. I want to do a new payment. We will do a credit card as an example using the integrated credit card processing. This one that I'm showing you is the integration with Singular. Let's charge the full amount. So I have a quick, by double clicking in this space, it'll automatically put the full amount in for the amount that they're being tendered. And let's now process the credit card. I have a credit card swiper connected to this machine just through USB standard credit card swipe. Swipe the card. You can see it processes all of the information, and now I can hit submit. It automatically saves the card information for future use. Asks if I'd like to print a credit card receipt. I'm going to hit no because you can't see that anyway, but normally that would go to your receipt printer, which is all set up in the setup utility. And now I'm ready to check the guest in. Just last screen I'll show you is information about just the transaction history. This is for you internally to just see what all has happened and what employee did each of the transactions. And so let's go back to the main screen and check them in. We have all information done. We've created the payment, and I'm ready to check them in. So I hit the check-in button. We can add their vehicle information if you want, and that's pretty straightforward. I will not show that in this video. And I'm going to click check in and view receipt. So now the receipt has come up. This is using the standard half-page format receipt. You can print this out. It shows the charges, etc., line for their signature. We have multiple different options of receipts for you to choose from. A very common one is the full page receipt, so then you just use a standard sheet of paper and prints out full detail, shows more detail about payments, etc. So that's a pretty common feature. Then you don't have to have any special paper made at a print shop, cut in half or anything like that. So I can hit print, the printer icon up here to send it to the printer. I'm just going to close it for the sake of this video, and now the guest is checked in. One of the things that you may wish to do is to communicate with your guests by sending letters to them. We have several built-in functions for sending letters: confirmation letters, deposit request letters, and thank you letters. And those can be printed and sent via standard mail, or you can email them. So let's take a look at a confirmation letter. You can customize by adding any specific notes for this reservation if you want. I'm going to skip that for right now. The confirmation letter contains text that you can edit in setup. That is basic text that will be displayed on every confirmation letter that's sent. So this is completely controllable by you. Many people like to put their policies in, such as late checkout, refunds, cancellations, etc. And the second portion of the letter is the standard information that will show up on every letter, and this is information about their stay and the financial summary and their current balance, and then payment details. And then if any specific notes were entered in the text box that appeared prior to showing the letter, then that information would display right here. For each guest, you have what we call a guest profile. These are typically created when you make a reservation for the guest for the first time, but you can also go in and make them manually. You can look up existing guest profiles. Let's just take a look at an existing guest profile. I'll do my own name. I'm in here multiple times, but let's just pick one. So this guest profile shows all the information about me. I can have notes specifically put in for me. These notes are different than it's on a reservation. These are stored in my guest profile. They're not specific to any reservation. They're specific to me as a guest. Also, there's a complete history of my stay, and you can open those individual reservations or access those by clicking on the list. So you can see the history, the guest history, stay history, all the way back, and also information about my vehicles, my rigs, discount programs, etc. And I can be put on different guest lists for mailing lists or emailing lists or newsletters that you want to do, or blacklist would be how you do this. So notice and you can set up and create these lists however you want, and so that covers that. Also, my credit card information is in here. If you use our integrated credit card partners, you can store cards, and that gives you the basic information about a guest profile. Guest lists are another powerful feature of CampWorks. So you can go into Manage Your Guest Lists by clicking the Guest List button. So this is a master guest list of everyone that stayed. I'm in the practice database, so I don't have a large number of guests in here. But you may have thousands of guests in this list, and you can sort them based off of any of these by clicking at the top column. And then you can set up these lists in the setups manual. It will explain how to set this up through the setup screens, but you can decide on the list that you want. So let's go to a blacklist, for example, and see the list of blacklist guests. If I click on this character, it will pull him open, and you'll see his stay history, etc., in the profiles, and you can see that he's blacklisted because evidently he skipped out on paying his bill. So that's just a brief intro to the lists, and also you can add guests, remove guests, all the basic features including sending emails and group emails, etc., printing mailing labels, or just printing the lists out. So quick overview, but hopefully another great feature that you'll find a benefit for your business. As a manager or owner of a hospitality business, one of the things that we hope you'll really appreciate that CampWorks has to offer is extensive reporting information. So you can use these reports and graphs to get a much better understanding of your business, your potential of areas of improvement to make, or just managing day-to-day finances. So, for example, financial reports, there's an accounting summary report that breaks down all of the charges and payments or receipts that came in throughout the day. You can get a lot of detail in various areas as well. You can look at the receipts in detail to break it down to each of the individual reservations and who paid on what date, etc. Sales, same thing. POS, detailed product inventory reports, just a lot of different variety of reports that you can get. Productivity wise, you can look at camper nights, which breaks down utilization, tells you how utilized your campground is. You can track employees, you can track advertising effectiveness, find out where your guests are coming from by state, So a lot of different great information that we hope you can look at, even revenue by types of stay, and we expect that this will be beneficial for you to just completely manage your business and get the most out of CampWorks. The How Found Out report is another good example of where CampWorks reporting features can give you a lot of good insight as to how you should do your advertising. In this case, we haven't put much data in, but you can get an idea of the type of data that it would provide for you. Here's another example of reporting capabilities. This one breaking your payments received down by the different types of stay. So how many are daily visitors, weekly visitors, or monthly visitors, so you can better understand where the majority of your revenue comes in. The accounting summary is the basic report used each day to capture all of your sales and your receipts. So in a accrual system, if you're using a accrual accounting method, then your charges, anything that is charged for the day, meaning a new sale of some sort, is listed up here and broken down by each of the different types of rental spaces, and then any additional charges that are added in, electric meter, cable, etc., are broken out, as well as point of sale. So the charges are up here. The deposits that were received are shown in this section, and thirdly, then any payments received towards the sales, or just any payments received, are listed in this section of the report. So if, again, in a accrual system, if there are charges that are made and there are no payments that come in to match, then you will get an accounts receivable. If you're using a cash basis system, then typically what should happen is every time there's a charge, there is also a corresponding payment that counteracts that, and you should never then have accounts receivable. So that is the basis of the accounting summary report. It's all based off of when the sale is made, meaning one thing that's important if you're doing some testing on your own, if the reservation is put into the system but never checked in, it will not show up on this report. It needs to be checked in to constitute a sale, and at that point then the revenue is recognized and it's added into this report. So just one important point if you're trying to do some testing, and you make sure that you check in reservations. POS is a great add-on module for anyone that has additional items that you sell as standalone items, like for a small store, for example. Let's say you have souvenirs or t-shirts, etc. And so the point of sale module adds directly into CampWorks. It combines all of the totals between CampWorks in reporting and the point of sale module. So instead of having a standalone cash register that you deal with all this, with the point of sale module, you get complete inventory tracking capability. You have all of your financials combined into one report at the end of the day. Your cash drawers is all combined, and you can manage that your cash in and out is all appropriate, as well as you can charge to reservations. So there are a number of great reasons why you may want to use the point of sale module. So I'll go through just the basics of point of sale. Here's inventory management. You can click on you can add all of your own items in. You can use a handheld USB barcode scanner that you plug into your computer, scan the barcode of the item, put in the information that you want. You can use this to update and add inventory, etc. So very easy to manage the inventory. Here's the cash drawer transactions. You can control what happens in your cash drawer so that it balances out at the end of each day. You can do a balance report then to see that the cash, credit cards, etc. all are managed appropriately. And this will combine also the CampWorks transactions if you share the cash drawer between CampWorks reservation, payments, and point of sale. You can look at receipts, and for today I just have one receipt that I've done. So let's do a basic transaction so that you see how this works. I am going to use my scanner and scan in an item. So I've scanned in this notebook, and then I just want to pay. You can set up scanned in items, or you can set up your own codes. For example, 1 for firewood, 2 for ice, etc. It doesn't matter whether you use a scanned barcode UPC or that you put your own code in. And so let's now just enter payment. You can process credit cards through this just like you can in CampWorks. In this case, I'm just going to say they gave us a $5 bill, and I'm going to finalize the sale. Yes, I want to print a receipt, and I just have this set to print to the screen, but it shows the balance due, and so that I can give them cash back. It will kick open the cash drawer, which is also integrated, and that's the basics of the POS. As our lives become more intertwined with the internet, it is becoming more commonplace that your customers want to be able to make reservations online. So this has been one of the more requested features over the last couple of years, and that's to have online web reservations. So we have created a module that can be used within your current internet site, so your current website for your business. And this portion right here in the deep blue essentially is put in through an iframe into your website. So it's a portal, if you want to call it that, or a window inside of your website. So this portion up here would be your website. This would be something you would display on one of the pages of your website. So you may have a tab or a button or something that says make reservations, and then your website would show this information as a subset inside of your website. So this color can be customized through the setup. You can do that yourself through the setup to make it match the color schemes of your website. So how it works: if you're a user making a reservation, you select the rental space type, the check-in date. I'm just going to make it easy for this demo. I'll do 20 feet. I will do 8. I'm just going to show all available rental spaces. So what has just happened is now through a secure connection, when I hit search, it went through the internet, through your firewall, and back to your master computer, the computer where your database is stored on, and a web service is running in the background on that, looking for requests to come in. And that web service has seen the request come in, it has answered it, and returned the results back to the user on the web of what rental spaces are available. So your computer that is answering this, your master computer, needs to be on at all times and connected to the internet. So we now have a list of all of the available rental spaces. I'm going to just make a reservation by filling this in, 0 pets, get rates. Now it goes again back to your computer, and it gets the rate information so that it can fill this out. All of this is part of the customization, so this is something that you can enter in the setup information to fill in all of this text. I'm just going to quickly make a reservation. Okay, now I hit proceed to the payment form. Web Reservations uses the same integration that CampWorks uses for payment processing. So you must use, in order to use Web Reservations, you must use one of our payment processing partners, either Singular Payment Technologies or Singular Payments, or XCharge, also owned by Accelerated Payment Technologies. Those are the two integrated processors that we have right now. So I'm going to enter a test card. And hit submit, and this will process the payment. So that payment is processed exactly the same as if you are at the campground. So all of your payments are processed through the same processor. There's no extra third party that's being paid and then you have to receive payment from them. It's all the same as if you're processing the credit card yourself and running it at your business. So now you can see that the reservation has been booked. and a reservation number has been created. So this is it for the user standpoint. Now what happens in the back end, we'll look at what happens on your side of things and the steps that you need to take to complete the reservation process by completing a confirmation letter and sending it to the guest. When a visitor to your website makes a new reservation online, you will immediately receive an email indicating that a new web reservation has been created. CampWorks has a visual indicator in the upper right-hand corner indicating that the web service is running and online reservations are functioning. To confirm the reservation, pull up the quick list for web reservations and then open the reservation that needs to be confirmed. Now you can go to the letters section and confirm the reservation by finishing it by emailing the confirmation letter. After the email has been sent, your confirmation is complete and the web reservation is done. I hope you've liked what you've seen so far with CampWorks and that you will download our 30-day trial and give it a run for yourself. Please use the Getting Started manual to go through the details of setup so that you can set it up specifically for your business. And at the end, if you like it and want to buy it, all you have to do is go into the purchase options screen. The default password is P, by the way, for the evaluation. Enter in your information and you can buy it directly through this screen by putting in your credit card information. It is securely transmitted to us, so don't worry about that. There are a couple of the key features I'd recommend. Online nightly backup, so that your database is backed up to our server and that you have an off-site backup copy of your data, which is your most valuable asset. The software can be reinstalled, but if you don't have your database and you don't have that backed up and you have a fire or a problem and you lose all of your data, that can be a huge problem. So definitely recommend that. And then if you want online web reservations and want to integrate those to your website, that is also a great new feature. So that's all there is to it. Hope you enjoy it, guys, and I hope to make you part of the CampWorks family.